Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. How's it going, y'all? Happy Pride Month. I got my lesbian haircut going in full bloom. This is what happens when you shave it off and then come back for more. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put my TikTok up. Someday. Let's do some old school tarot. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. La 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 la. La 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 la. On the brightness. Okay, let's have some fun. Let's go for whoever wants to come out. Spirit of gratitude, joy, love, and light, highest possible messages at this time. Let's pick up the energy, get a couple of shuffles. La 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 la. La 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 la. Let's see who wants to come up. Okay, we got the 10 of Swords in reverse here. Let me scooch on over to the side a little bit. Self-sabotage energy is prevailing. Self-sabotage. How are we self-sabotaging here, Spirit? Take it if it resonates. I like to say that it's for the general collective. How are we self-sabotaging here, Spirit? Typically, this is in regards to thought, overthinking things. Keep it simple, stupid, is what I'm getting here. Yeah, 8 of Swords in the reverse. This is coming out of the theory of things. What's up from St. Augustine? I think that's, where's that, Russia? Shout out to the YouTube channel. This is coming out of the theoretical. I'm just kind of, like I said when I started the video, doing some old-fashioned tarot. Oh, Florida. Okay, sorry. I'm also simulcasting on the TikTok and the YouTube, so crossbreed at Run and Gun Tarot across all channels. Usually I like to do paid readings, but I'll probably go through all the signs. Depends on how I feel. 9 of Pentacles in the reverse. You could be overthinking either status of being single, in a relationship, not in a relationship. It could also be the bag, finances, money, overthinking things. I like to tell myself it's all done, it's all paid for, it's all taken care of, and just live in that moment and enjoy it. Act as if Katie on YouTube asks, "Where am I?" I'm in LA, holding it down in Hollywood. Let's see what wants to come out here. What else wants to come out here? You got the Magician's card coming out. You got the Magician's card coming out. We all know that this is about manifestation. Okay, Magician is an anagram for imagination, magnetization. So you could quite literally magnetically charge the reality that you are imagining. It really is truly all about focus nowadays, especially with all the distractions. I find that a good way to kind of center the self is through meditation. I know that's thrown around a lot. I know I am guilty of throwing that around a lot as a practice, but it really does give you a good fucking, you know, stilling, centering, slowing down of things. I just meditated for an hour and I feel like a brand new man. Santa Monica in the house on YouTube. That's really cool. I'm originally from Chicago, actually, southwest suburbs of Chicago. I think the Magician's card here is also about taking care of your magnetic charge. Okay, making sure that you are moving your energy correctly, not wasting it, not squandering it, so that you can kind of, heal what needs to be healed daily just from wear and tear and maintenance within your being, your physical body, and your auric field. And then you can water the creative side. And sometimes you might feel as though that your creative outlet is one thing, but you may have moved on from that. You may have outgrown it. You might revisit it later, and you may even forget all the other creative outlets that you have, like doing tarot or whatever examples you like to do, music, writing, drawing, acting, dancing. So sometimes we inhibit ourselves because we're too much in the theoretical here, and that's what these swords represent. So better to just kind of walk the path and follow almost like the righteous practice and see what beautiful fruit and flower comes from it. Okay. Sometimes we could get lost in wanting a result from something. And it's not about that, it's about the path. It's so crazy because I'm finally just noticing that the Magician card has a wedding ring on it. And I've never noticed that before. It really does truly look like a wedding ring. I swear, I always realize something new the more I look into these cards. And so obviously the wedding ring is marriage, union. Somebody could be manifesting marriage or union. But marriage and union can also be manifested in a negative way as well. I would say it could be done in a manipulative way. I could actually think of an example of someone whose kind of sphere I've crossed where they, in my opinion, have done things in a manipulative way. But that's just my perspective. Everyone's entitled to their opinion from the outside looking in. We don't know all the details of the story. I also see the sword piercing a heart, sorrow, infinity. Could be that someone is not as happy as they thought that they would be in marriage. Okay. Now they're bound with the. This is actually an infinity sign, which is something that I'm just kind of noticing as well. And I've been using this deck for a long time. I've always just kind of understood it to be the magician's hand, but you see the kind of lemniscate is this sash that represents eternity. It's actually a spiritual soul binding contract. So somebody may have, and I'm sure there are examples of people that may have or have already bounded themselves to a partner that they might even regret doing so. And it feels like you, the protagonist, may have dodged a bullet. And this is a part of your sticking true to what you want to manifest. And you seeing through the BS. And that scene hasn't always been perfect, hence dodging a bullet, right? You may have put yourself in the vicinity to get nicked or nipped a little bit, but it feels as though that maybe you, the protagonist, has come out unscathed. You didn't sell your soul, you didn't sign that bonding contract. You may have even gotten to a point where you've gotten too close, or you may have merged or bonded energetically, emotionally, and then you've had to kind of suffer the kind of emotional, energetic pain of separating. But better that than something that you can't remove yourself from without, for all intents and purposes, destroying yourself. Yes. You see the Three of Swords in the reverse. This is coming out of that, you see. Also coming out of the lack of being able to see with the Emperor here in the reverse. Okay? So the Three of Swords in the reverse, this is coming out of that sorrow, that sadness, that heartbreak we mentioned. You see more allusions to the sword here, right? Piercing the rose, which is an allusion to the heart. And that's what this is. You see, it's actually the same rose here, but now the red has been bled out here, it seems. Feels as though that this attachment would have actually burned you out here. You see the candle looking like um, a heart here in the upright. Yeah, this would not have been a stable path forward. You would have done this if it was stable moving forward, right? This is the Knight of Pentacles in the upright, but this is just not stable. I think it's interesting that this knight also has like a joust. I don't ever really point that fact out, but it is a competitive spirit actually here that's almost been retired or forced to slow down or forced to, and maybe force is not even the right word, but, and this is getting very good actually because, you know, this is an energy of somebody that really knows their worth and their value and they keep it, locked up really effing tight, you know, because they know they have the goods. So they don't avail themselves to just anyone and everyone, and this represents a slow path, the slowest path, actually. But it's because you know your own worth and your own value. Now, one of the main caveats of this being the slowest path is that oftentimes we forget our mission, our purpose. We forget that we're sitting on this gold mine. We forget the unimaginable, the unimaginable wealth and value that we have within ourselves, especially in this kind of shitstorm, pardon my language, of this modern era, which is so bent on trying to get you to forget how valuable and how powerful you are. This Knight of Wands here, this Knight of Pentacles here, excuse me. This era that we're in would rather you, um, you know, actually act like the Knight of Wands, which is what I just Freudian slipped right now. which is very kind of hot and cold and, rush in, rush out, non committal player, playette. And that's not where it's at. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for sharing on the TikTok. I appreciate that. So, those are behaviors and demeanors of people that don't know what they are about. They don't know their energetic prowess and power and potential, and that good things actually take this high and righteous, this slow, long path that few take. That's what this is about. Page of Cups, our friend, the Page of Cups. I do like this energy. It feels very like the winds of change are blowing. There is this kind of reawakening to your own kind of youthful spirit. You may feel like you have more energy at your disposal. You might be practicing abstaining. You might be practicing sobriety. You might be practicing abstaining from drugs, anything that would kind of deplete your energy. And don't get me wrong, it's so easy nowadays to just kind of be by the seat of your chair and just go for the physical indulgences and the pleasures, and but what that's doing is it's burning the candles at both ends for you, especially if you're an individual that, you know tries to keep up with your job, with working out, with your relationships, with everything that is requiring your energy, your life source. And if you're over here depleting your reserves, then you're not going to be able to give as much of yourself in the right direction. And so that's something to always try to be mindful of. And, you know, practice makes perfect, striving for perfection, but also not beating yourself up when you fall off. Um, Learning the rhythms and the cycles and leveraging and utilizing them to your highest advantage. Going with this kind of stream of consciousness here, the Page of Cups in the upright, knowing which way the wind is blowing, picking up subtle intuitive pulls and nudges and calls for you. One thing that I've been doing in the immediate as of late has been trying to kind of redirect any energies of thought or feeling that I don't vibe with, whether they be kind of lustful energies or energies of like desire, food, just it could be anything. It could be used for anything. I try to redirect my attention, my awareness to my heart space. I know that sounds very hokey, but I really do believe that, like, alchemically, energetically, in the mind, we can program ourselves to focus on something of the heart space, which I would deem like a higher uh, level of frequency or energy than just that of desire or lust or whatever category that we're talking about. Um, And again, that might sound very foreign nowadays, but I do think that it's a matter of belief in like subtle energy. I think that doing something like that is the path. And just like, drinking is a path. If you drink, let's say, for example, for every day for like 10 years, you're going to be down that path. Whereas if you live a healthy lifestyle for 10 years, you're going to be down that path. So if we start to look at our spiritual practices as maybe more nuanced, minuscule, subtle, but if you add it down the path of 10 years, then you're in a completely almost different realm or trajectory. And that's not a new concept, but it's interesting to kind of give more weight and value to one little almost minuscule gesture, uh, thought, moment, call it reprogramming, refocusing your heart space. And you are literally training and conditioning yourself to become that person. because to go back to the imagination, you can perceive, you can foresee, and that's where the emperor now gets in his power here, right? He was not in his power in the reverse. We could turn him in the upright now that we are seeing this with our third eye, our imagination. And it's funny enough because you need the vision to withstand this long endurance, right? This long withstanding journey that is life. And so when he's in the reverse, he's looking upside down like the hangman here, right? But when he realizes his value, well, now he's empowered, and now he is the emperor in his full power. He remembers the game. He remembers it's an energetic game of attention and eking your energy so that you can be low level, low vibrational, depleted battery of a human being that we all are. But when he realizes that's what happens when you chase your indulgences, your low level, and he chooses the better path, now he or she, this could be any gender you want, it's the essence of the energy that we're speaking to, now is able to see in his crystal ball, his vision, his imagination. Imagination is I magi, and that is the magician, right? Magi is acronym, call it for, um, or an anagram, call it rather, for to magnetize, to manifest. And so when you see what you're manifesting based on what you're cutting out, that's the path and the trajectory over a long period of time, let's say 10 years, 13 years. And you could see that you will be in a better place. And that's just how simple it is. And it's so interesting because we said earlier, just now when I started, keep it simple, stupid, you know. And sometimes we lose track of that. Sometimes we are just on autopilot. And I think that that's another good thing that meditation does is it wakes you up to the fact that 10 years will fly by night just like that. And you could choose right now to clean up your trajectory, you know. And again, it doesn't mean that the energies in the moon and the time and the waves of life won't warble and wobble and go up and down. And you have moments where you have an inundation of energy and a discharge of energy and all these things, an expression of energy. But as long as you have your kind of like mission or your trajectory of where you want to be, and it becomes mission possible because you're only taking it a day at a time, a moment at a time, you know. And so now life is becoming like this mindful dance. You know, there's this mindfulness here, and it's connected to the different outlets of your creativity, of your expression, of what you could output into the world. And it's not limited to what you thought it was. And that happens when you're not burning the candle on both ends, when you're not depleting yourself to these lesser vices, desires, cravings, lusts, you know, whatever that has us. Because it's burning your energy, it's depleting your psychic energy, your spiritual energy, which is finite, you know, in the human biophysiological expression in our 24 hours as we know it. Yes, tracking. See, I spoke to the hangman, and the hangman just came out. The hanged woman in this case, but she's in the reverse. So this is great because now you've taken the message from maybe this period of having fallen back into your vices, the pleasures, the desires, feeding them, seeing that it's not fulfilling. Actually, it's depleted you. It's made you feel worse than ever. And so now you're like, got it. Dum dum, I remember, I know what I need to do now. And that's what he or she here, this protagonist, gets from that slump in the very least. I have everything I want, I have all my indulgences, whatever category you want to speak to, but actually they have me and they are keeping me stuck and depleting my energy. Okay, bam. Our hero or heroine realizes that, and there now you can be free from them. And you are free now to move forward, plan your trajectory, all that stuff. Four cup here in the upright represents protecting your heart space. Okay. Maybe emotionally not available at times. There could be someone offering you maybe friendship and you feel like you've been burned in the past. You alluded to this earlier with the sword piercing the rose. And you see this image come here. This can also be emotional stability, as though you know better to involve yourself with someone who's emotionally unavailable. Someone could be going through these motions, manifesting this because they feel a social pressure that they need to. Remember, we said that there's this little ring here that we're just noticing on this magician's hand here. I hope you can see it. I know on the YouTube it looks like you can make it out, but that is clearly a ring here, and you don't see it on the other fingers. Um, it almost feels as though that someone was not open to you, your heart, your emotion, because they are caught up in the image of others. They are caught up in the hubbubaloo, the hubbub of the drama of third parties, family, friends, influencers, the image. And that's so fascinating because we just went on this whole kind of rant about um, the version of I Magi, which is empowering, which is the magician, which is magnetization, manifestation. But I suppose that the more kind of shallow, less informed version, the fear driven version of this is the image, where we're just playing off of the facade and taking it at face value. And it's interesting because anyone that is worth their weight in wisdom will listen to what people say and watch what they do. And therein lies the truth revealed about what this person is about. Are they in alignment or are they just paying lip service? And so I have a feeling here that someone is too invested in this image here. And so they may be kind of protecting their heart from this situation. And they may have been informing their moves, rushing into marriage, trying to check a box. Uh, you see a lot of women nowadays, in their 30s, they're just going to get the next man that they get into a relationship with and they're going to marry them. And if they don't want to marry them, they're going to break up with them. They're going to move on. They're going to ruin this person emotionally and break their heart because they're not giving them what they need, which is marriage and children, all that stuff. That's nonsense to me. That's my personal opinion. Marriage, children, all that should be a byproduct of a good, healthy, sustainable relationship. You shouldn't get in a relationship to get those things out of it, to extract it. Because what ends up happening is they get those things, they realize that they're not fulfilling, they're not happy, and then they end up breaking that man's heart or vice versa. But more often than not, it's women to men. Not to bash on women, but that's what's coming out here. Um, so I advise women, and I do read professionally on several different psychic lines. As much as the conversation allows me to wedge in a message, I try to tell women to not get into relationships simply for marriage or children. You might actually want to try to like the person that you're with. And to like someone is you have to be like them. You have to go back to that innocence, that trust, that Six of Cup energy. Like your two inner children have to get along. And ideally grow together. We're talking about long trajectories down the line thematically tonight, and you want to, like two trees in the wild, grow together. Um, or else you're left to the kind of devices of the system, which now more than ever is leaning on cottage industries like divorce and all of the kind of mainstream messaging, which is kind of the breaking up of the nuclear family, all that stuff. Um, they're more significant if you're less aware of them. If they're more in your kind of unconscious. And I think it's tricky nowadays, especially again not to beat up on women, but I feel like society is messaging to women that they have it good, they have it great, they're making money now. But I do feel as though that they are leading them off of a cliff because I feel like at a certain age they run into a wall and then society spits them out and doesn't care about them anymore. They've racked up partner after partner, body after body, as far as sexual partners, and nothing has come out of it because they've just been using and abusing themselves first and foremost. They haven't been really sincerely looking for that true kind of emotionally open and available love. And I say this sympathetically, this part right here, the fact that I think that women that are trying to jump into a relationship to extract marriage and children out of it, they're operating off of fear because they feel like they're on a time clock and the door is closing. That's the obvious thing. Um, but you could trade that scenario for any other situation. And if you're running off of fear, that's not a good thing. So again, I always advise to, no matter what the situation is, try to run off of love more so than fear. And therein lies another kind of utilization of that practice that I just mentioned, where you're putting your mindset and your focus on your heart space, or maybe even a mantra. It could be a single word, in those moments of doubt or what have you. Um, yeah, as we kind of drive this biophysiological vehicle and we try to interface all of these energies coming towards us. I think love is the universal one that gets us to where we want to be, if that makes any sense. And you could go on and on and on in regards to talks of kind of balancing that out with being present, practicing presence. But I do think that it is a tool that we as people can use to, again, define that trajectory, to uh, embody, to invoke our will, which ideally will be aligned to a higher power, to something greater than ourselves, to a greater cause than just ourselves. Doing the right thing, moving to the positive, moving to good. Some can call it God, Good, God. It's a coincidence for a reason. You have the Sun card here. This is the most positive card in the deck. Some call this the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles combined in one card. Feels as though that you could sleep peacefully at night. You know that you've done no one harm. You've done no one wrong. You've had the best of intentions. Maybe a little or a lot misunderstood. Balance, justice. The Sun card looking at the justice scales. That's kind of badass if you ask me. I like that. I don't know why. Sometimes the justice scales are not always in your favor in the 3D world, right? And you got to do some time for any maybe possible unconscious karma that you might have accrued, I would call it. But another way of looking at it is for your protection. Sometimes we think we're being punished by being forced to sit out or not be a part of the things that we would want right now, but oftentimes it's just for your highest good, for your protection. You could maybe even be getting pleasure off of someone facing some sort of karmic justice. I don't necessarily recommend that. This comes across as more of like an inner knowing of how history will remember certain characters and paths that they chose. It feels as though that you are on a good and righteous path. Okay? But that's not something to be taken for granted. You always want to remain vigilant that you're growing into the right things, into the right being, the right person that you want to be. Anything else about this justice card? I kind of find it fascinating. Yeah, it could be that someone is beginning to face this kind of cold water and they're being very kind of defensive or protective, but you really can't fight the justice system. This could be straight up legalities for some, okay, or this could just be manifesting universal karmic justice, as I like to call it. Yeah, there is marriage involved here. Marriage. Something is not seen, revealed, illuminated. You have a rebirth, someone coming from the past, coming back from the dead, triggering a third party situation. Hopefully, not. Hopefully, this is something that you know to steer clear from. If it's bringing a lot of drama or mess in your life, you don't want to get necessarily wrapped up with someone who's married already. I do receive a lot of calls in the tarot lines that I read for where people get involved with married people. It's usually not good. Hmm. You have the Lover's card here. This feels very heavy, like this is for a specific person. Hmm. I mean, these to me, and pardon the vernacular, but twin flame energy. You see the two candles here, and this is the Lover's card, which is famously known as the twin flame soulmate card. Um, hmm. What else here is at home, local, close to you, a decision being made. Someone may be extending an offer or an opportunity your way. You can see here that the offer or opportunity is being extended. Someone is trying to offer you the world or lofty promises. Usually, the Queen of Swords in the reverse, she's not in her right mind. She's not, she's operating out of fear. Could have been that you tried to offer the world to someone, but they were too kind of manic in their thinking, operating out of fear, and they couldn't see that. It could be that you were too kind of steady, stable, tried and true, slow and steady wins the race, and that did not work for this energy. Somebody may be hoping or praying for a second chance. They may be fearing justice, karmic justice being carried out because of their rejection of you. And that's what this was. Now someone has to face the justice, and they're being defensive of it. And it could be that their justice or their karma is that their relationship falls out, their relationship suffers because it was conditioned on false pretenses to begin with. And now they're hitting the cold water of that reality. That truth can no longer be kind of going through the motions. It can't be covered by just going through the emotions and appeasing, checking the boxes or fanfare or how things look on paper or the image that we're talking about. Because all of that is run out. All of that is running off of the steam and the thrill of the in the moment endorphins, the rush, like drug abuse, but only with like signing away life contracts with soulmates that aren't who you're supposed to be with dharmically, but karmically, yeah, but not dharmically. And I think ideally this is informing you so that you could proceed with mindfulness if and when you yourself get into anything, if you're single, or it might even just be able to help you better understand your relationship, your situation. But this is very much so like a judgment is being passed, and falling out of a relationship will take place. This could be loss of a friendship if you don't agree to the terms and the circumstances of someone that you were friends with. If you feel as though that the way that they're living or moving, operating in their life is not aligned with you and what you believe in, then you could choose to nix the friendship and get rid of it altogether. Because you see what's happening and you don't back it up. You can't honestly, and it's so funny because you might be beating yourself up about that, but you can't honestly be at their wedding and feel good about their marriage. That's the funny part. And this person might want you to be happy for them, but they're so blind in that they're signing such a raw deal for themselves because it's not based on love. It's based on just the image, checking the boxes, meeting the status quo. Oh, I'm, 35. I need to be married. It's not how you do it. There's a heavy energy. Someone who's maybe overexerting themselves. Ten of Wands in the reverse could be a rebirth energy. We saw that come out earlier. Sometimes it could be read as, I think, needing to end something, but not. Could be needing to end the relationship, but you haven't yet. It's almost as though that you and this other character or other characters have chosen their path. Everyone has to choose their path and run to their side. Hmm. This person might feel still strongly about you, and they might even be upset that they're losing you. Remember, I said we got the death card in the reverse. It's my other rebirth energy. And this is my rebirth energy as well. But you don't have a say and you don't have any action to do on your end. You're not being informed by inspired action here because he's offset to the Ace of Wand in the reverse. Knowing this about that person, no longer can you derive pleasure from your interactions, your encounters, your exchanges, your energetic exchanges, the friendship, whatever it is, the situationship. But it feels like what you're left with is the King of Wands in the upright. You come out of this with this understanding. It feels maybe like you've passed a cycle or a test, and that last Ace of Wand that was given to you will be, it was given to you in the reverse, will then be utilized in the upright as a torch for you